in my opinion. Like it's a real great story, and I'm glad that it's in the theaters for the world to watch and for the world to be able to listen to because because NWA is a they're very important to the hip hop culture. You know, everybody who's a hip hop fan knows about NWA. So yeah,
Well, man, for sure. NWA in that word. I mean, I'm old enough to remember them coming about. So the fact I've said this many times in this podcast, the fact that the guy, just a group of guys from your side of the world basically just influenced the whole world, and what it's become over the last sort of 20 years is immense. And you know what I mean? I'm looking forward to seeing the film. And I don't like to say we don't want to give any spoiler alerts away, but I've just been hearing loads of good things about the film. So if they've done the actual times and the cause justice, then it's only a good thing.
yeah. But yeah, that movie was amazing though. I'm gonna go see it again. Actually, like you gotta go see it twice, real, because that's just how great of a movie it is. But I've always been a fan of NWA though. Like Easy E, he was actually one of my first favorite rappers when I first found out about him. And he actually brought out, he actually found one of my favorite hip hop groups, Bone Thugs and Harmony, and they're from Cleveland, Ohio. So, so yeah,
Man, Bone Thugs and Harmony. That does takes me back big style, man. Do you know what I mean? I mean, this is a sort of good point. I mean, when did you sort of first sort of come into this sort of music? Was it something you've been brought up amongst as a child, or was it sort of like you came into your later years?
what made me get into music or when did I first start? Actually, I wrote my first rap when I was 6, 7 years old, but I didn't start getting serious about hip hop music till I say the summer after eighth grade. So that was like in 2011. I was 13 years old. Um, I was trying to decide whether I wanted to pursue a career in sports or in music, and I just had more of a passion for music. So I stopped playing football and basketball just so I could, learn more about music and help perfect my craft. And ever since then, I've just been consistent with it. And I've always loved doing it. So
Man, when you say football, do you mean American football or do you mean
yeah,
soccer?
yeah, all American football, like shoulder pads. I used to play soccer though when I was a kid. I used to play soccer. I played for like a year.
Oh, nice, man. What position did you play?
For American football, I played wide receiver in middle school.
Right. So it means
Hmm.
that basically means, from my understanding of American football, means you're good at running and you're good at catching. And
Right, right. Right. Yeah,
because there's some big guys in the middle of that. I don't really sort of follow NFL that much, but there's some big guys, and it's quite interesting because I was reading an article just last night, and they were saying about how the amount of brain injuries that have been caused by just head-on collisions. Because there's some big guys. I mean, they don't really run around a lot, do they? But they just slam into people, and the concussion that's going on, and some of the older guys are really suffering now.
yeah. I know. That's another reason why I stopped playing. I mean, yeah, because like a lot of that, like to go, to football, it's a real dangerous sport, and it comes with a lot of cons too. Like especially it's it's just something you gotta be willing to dedicate your life to, especially with all the concussions and stuff, and how you gotta like what am I saying? Like how you can suffer from it and let it ruin your life. I don't know if I was really that committed to like go through all that. So that's sort of another reason why I decided to stop playing. But all in all, I prefer music over sports because I connect more to music than I do with playing sports or whatnot. But I'll always have a love for sports though. But music is where it's at for me.
Oh, definitely, man. I mean, the one thing I always find funny about the NFL, and it made me chuckle so much, was when I found out they were a charity. They don't even pay any taxes or anything. It's like, what? One of the biggest franchises in the world doesn't pay any taxes and gets away with that one. It's like modern day slavery.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I love watching football though, and I had a lot of fun playing it. That's for sure. I had a lot of fun playing basketball too.
So, so like you say, so you moved away from sort of sports and you got into, like you say, into sort of like, you know, rap sort of hip hop and stuff. Did you get into it through beat making, or did you get to, for it to make, spitting out lyrics? I mean, how was your kind of sort of first steps into that, becoming what you are now?
Well, it just kind of gradually happened. Like, well, when I was in sixth grade, we used to like in the cafeteria after we eat breakfast, we used to go off into the corner and we would have freestyle battles. And my best friend, he would beatbox, and we just like we would just be going off the top, just having fun with it, and just roasting each other. And then after that, I decided to, push it a little further. Then I actually went to the studio that year and recorded a song, but I don't know what I did with the CD. But I wasn't, I wasn't really that consistent with it at first. But over time, I just, decided to become more consistent. Like the summer before eighth grade, I used to wake up every morning and I'd go to my computer and I play instrumentals, and I would like, I would, be typing in lyrics and whatnot. And I use my sister's camera to like record me rapping. And I actually had videos on my YouTube channel with me rapping. I did a freestyle to the song "What You Know" by T.I. But I don't know what I did with those videos. They should still be on my mom's computer, but I don't think they're still on there. If they were, then I'd post them for like a throwback Thursday or something. But it's history now.
Man, so like you say, I'm always been fascinated by these kind of freestyle battles. I mean, is it just a case of like you just again? I mean, you've got to bear in mind, I'm I'm in my 40s and I'm I'm as white as a Scots as possibly can be. But what I'm trying to say is it like you see in the movies and stuff, or I've seen on documentaries where you literally just stand on the edge, you have to literally fight your way in, and then you got to go for it, and you live or die by what you say in those minute or 30 seconds. It's really as kind of as raw as it kind of comes across.
Right. But our freestyle battles, we was little kids, so that was never that hostile. Like we was just really having fun with it. Like you wouldn't even have to know how to rap. But it just so happens that, I was pretty good at, putting words together in a short amount of time and making them all, make sense. At least, 80% of the time. So yeah. But it was all fun though. That was back when I was just looking at it as a hobby. But now, I'm looking at it more as a career choice now.
So back in those days, then, who was your kind of inspiration? Who did you kind of? I'll give you an insight. I mean, I used to love Razza from hip hop, the Wu Tang, and even when he went into grave diggers
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff. And I always followed kind of like particular people like Razza. I followed him all through his different projects, and he's always been an inspiration for me. So, when you were doing the freestyle, who was your inspiration? Who did you look up to?
Actually, in sixth grade, I was a huge Kanye West fan. I listened to a lot of Kanye, and Kanye has always been one of my favorite rappers, and he always has been. But I say my top 10 inspirations. If I can name 10,
Mm.
I say Jay-Z, Kanye West, Tupac, Biggie, Nas, Big Sean, Kendrick Lamar, Drake, J. Cole, and that 10th spot, I'm not exactly too sure who would be, but them is like my top influences, I'd say. Oh, did I say Lil Wayne? Yeah, Lil Wayne. Yeah, yeah. So Lil Wayne is yeah, them is my top 10 influences.
Well, it's again, it's just hearing that, for hearing your top 10 influence. It's amazing how many of them overlap. I mean, I was talking last night, and I mentioned to you before, the Boys and the Ceiling Demons, and we were actually discussing Nas last night, and it's amazing. There's another one that just overlaps. I mean, that whole Illmatic album. I, I
Oh
was
yeah.
I was saying it was almost like a soundtrack for my life for about 3 or 4 years. That Illmatic album, and it's again, it's this whole thing. It's so inspiring to think that just a form of music, and I was trying to tap into this earlier on, that I'm old enough to remember when this was so underground, for me to
Mhm.
hear any kind of this music over here, I'd have to sort of send away for cassettes, man. I'm that old. I have to send away for like like mixtapes and stuff like that. And now it's just everywhere, and everybody, we can have this discussion about Nas, and it's amazing. It's so inspiring to think that this is what I said before. This is what I think historic are at right now. You're at you're at you're at great times in history, because I think there's a whole new wave coming through, and I hear
Oh, yeah.
voices like yourself, and I think you're going to be the new vanguard of this coming through.
Thanks. I truly appreciate that. Yeah, as historic, me, Roy, J Rose, we putting in as much work as possible, trying to get this music out, you know, just having fun with it. But but yeah, man, I definitely see a new wave of hip hop coming through. I'm starting to see a lot of positivity coming from the genre. Actually,
Mm.
I feel like it's being overlooked by the mainstream, but yeah, I feel like hip hop is definitely starting to evolve again, and we might see another golden age. Who knows? You never know. So
Man, I mean, the media overlooking what goes on the positive side of not only hip hop, but I think a lot of music is
yeah,
that's historic, man. I mean, that they did that back in the day. I mean, I'm a huge Paris fan, and he was always, even he was talking about this was going on in the rap music, how the guys were just selling out, and all the whole genre just became about money and guns and bitches and hoes, and it was the whole thing just and the whole thing sold out, man. But the media love to focus on that. They love to give this image about all you've got to do is wear the most shiny shit and talk about, drop the most f bombs, and you'll make it, rather than which is what hip hop to me started off as. There's some really intelligent, real raw stuff coming through, which is what the essence of the music was, and that's why it rose first time. And now I'm seeing it again, that people aren't afraid, like you said, people like yourselves, and you're actually telling raw stuff, but not in a, let's all make big shiny cars and bing bing and all that kind of stuff. And it is refreshing, because you're saying what I love about it now, it's gone from just being a small genre amongst a certain amount of people. Now you've got, I don't know, like I say, the Season Demons and going, completely guys who are from England who have never had any experience of any, what it's like to live in America, but they're putting their own spin on this. And this, like, the whole hip hop now has moved from just a small thing, into a massive thing. And now you've got these different influences coming on, and it's I don't know, it's very inspiring. I don't know how you feel being in America. Do you realize how much of an effect it's having worldwide?
yeah, I definitely see. Hip hop has always had a huge effect worldwide. Hip hop is you know, I feel like hip hop is the new rock of this age. Like how rock was, back in the 70s and 80s. Like people would dress, according to their favorite rock star, or people are dressing according to what Kanye West is wearing, what they see Jay-Z wearing, what they see Drake wearing. Even on Instagram, I can't scroll down my Instagram or Twitter without seeing at least 3 or 4 Drake quotes on somebody's picture or timeline or something. So hip hop is definitely having a huge has a huge cultural influence on the world. Not even just America, I say the world in general. And I'm just I'm proud to have a chance to even become part of that. I'm real blessed for that. So
Man, for someone of, like I say, someone who's actually performing and doing, this is your life. Do you have any kind of? Does it ever cross your mind that you are? And I'm not trying to say it affects you and how you would do, because I hope it wouldn't. But do you ever sort of step outside yourself and realize that you people like yourself, because you got your tunes, your tracks, and they can go worldwide. You are, there is a thing around being, you are a positive male model, you know what I mean, especially to males, because there's a whole lot, and it's one of the things you touched upon in your last track you put out, about come and it's the loss of people, and we need a world of male positive role models, and there's not many, and especially in, like you said, in your culture, where we were just discussing, it's all, oh, to be a rap star, it's all about how much, how many hoes you've got and how much bling you've got, and it's not about that, because we need, that's what I'm trying to say. Are you aware of that you are, whether you, and I'm not saying you want to be or you're trying to be, but are you aware that your words do have effect, and you are generating a male positivity role, which is really important. This is what I'm trying to say. This is where it just crosses over from music, and you are integrating within human lives, and that's where people like you have a massive effect.
Yeah, I'm very aware of the impact I could have with the influence I can have. I'm also aware of, the words that I say in my songs. It could impact the person positively or negatively. So that's why I always look to, that's why I always, look for positivity in music, because, I look to have a positive impact as a person, not even just, as a musician, but as a person overall. So, like I said, I'm just glad to be able to, do this, in this format. So, yeah, hopefully I can have a huge impact on the genre. So I'm just doing what I do best. Just being myself and making the best music possible, and I continue. Um, I look to continue doing that for a while.
Well, like I say, that's why I will do I'll big up and I'll do everything to sort of raise anything you particularly do and anything particularly historic and stuff, because I think it's really important. It's something that I mean, it's particularly important to me, because I've seen enough of my friends, just pass away through suicide and stuff because they don't feel there's a route out of things. So this is what I'm trying to say, to hear people like yourself standing up and being positive and being real is very inspirational. You know what I mean? And I think it's really crucial in these days. I mean, it's one of the things you touched upon in your last tune you put out last night. Come and go. People do come and go, and it's
Right,
it's the emotional intelligence, or the intelligence to deal with that in life. Because some people, it's one of the things I listened to that track last night, and I was thinking, man, so many of my friends have literally not only just come and gone and passed away through suicide and stuff, but
right,
it's because some people, and particularly males, find really hard to deal with. I mean, because we're bred to be this big macho, we're tough and stuff. And when one of your best mates moves to the other side of the country or to another part of the world completely, it's tough. And I've known people who've gone into real depression for it. And it was one of the things you touched upon. And I don't know if that was the sentiment you were trying to express in that song, but again, it was just really sort of plays in with this whole what you are and what you are being real. So I mean, what was the sort of thoughts and the sentiment behind that? Your come and go tune.
Well, with come and go, I was just at a place in my life, and like, with us being teenagers and growing up, you're going to meet a lot of people, you're going to see a lot of people, leave your life, and I was pretty much referring to the time that I moved out of Springfield and moved to Inglewood, basically outside of Dayton, and I lost contact with a lot of people who I used to be cool with, and I was just talking about how like you guys used to be close, like how you used to be close to the person, like, probably used to, go outside, play football, play basketball. Then you see him like, 2, 3 years down the road, and, it's almost as if y'all need to, know each other. Like I said, people come and go. Sometimes they might not come back. You lose touch and they won't even make eye contact. So, it's just pretty much, just, expressing my feelings over that, and, sort of how I felt about it, and what I was seeing at the time. So,
Well, again, it's a very timely issue, because that's what life's about. And I think I don't know how you feel, but maybe I'm seeing things. I mean, this is just my how it came across to me, and I thought even on a very deeper level, yeah, it's kind of like how life is. That sometimes it's the expression of which side of history do you want to. History's going to mark us all down, and it's what side of history we're going to be marked down upon, and that means sometimes in life that some people do go, even just your friends, you realize that some people are going down tracks and paths that you think, I don't want to go down there with you. And it means that we're going to have to separate, because, I tell you what, the analogy I use, and I don't know, this is, it really sort of came to my head last night when I was listening to that track. It's like, we can both be as tight as brothers, and you both see things at, exactly the same point, and you both aim towards the same, north point on the compass. But if just 1%, you just deviate by 1%, by the time you're, you know 6 months down the line, you're so far apart. And then you think, oh, we started off in the same point, but
right,
now, it always, the question that comes up, which is what I think you tapped into, was that, what do you do with, what do you do with the, relationships you have around you and the people you have around you when they're going, I don't mean this in the wrong way, but they're going off track, and they're diverging to places you don't want to go, but you feel, and I don't know, I mean, I feel this as an artist, and I feel this is what I am. I'm always well, I'll just carry on regardless. I ain't going to deviate for other people. I'll try to show empathy for those people, but I'm not going to change who I am just to go along with a clique or a group and stuff like that.
Right.
These were the thoughts that arose when I listened to that track last night.
Right, and I kind of expressed similar emotions over a song I did with Jay Royal called "Life I Chose," and it's sort of, the two tracks sort of linked together, but "Come and Go" is more, I say it's more in depth and in detail, and "Life I Chose" is pretty much like, summarizes everything, like how me and my friends, like say we have the same career path, and I decided to pursue mine, and another group of people, sort of like, lost track of where they wanted to go. And I was just, talking about how, I could have went this route, or what if I went this route, or what would have happened had I have gone this route. So, I was just pretty much, just, discussing that. And Jay Royal's verse was really nice on it too. Yeah, he killed that for sure. So.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just one of the things that you sort of tapped upon it. You just mentioned a minute ago that you're obviously met up with the, Jay Rose and the whole historic crew and all that lot when you moved to Dayton. But you're, like you said, then you're not originally from Dayton. You're originally from Springfield. So you have
Right.
which I think is one of the great powerful things about, I think, all truly great musicians and people who really do push the genre. I think we're all outsiders. We've all had that experience of being outsiders. So did you find that? I mean, is that something you relate to? Do you relate to sort of being an outsider? The fact that you had to move from Springfield to Dayton, or did you just sort of simulate immediately and you knew people already? I mean, is that something you relate to?
Well, when I moved to Inglewood, I didn't know anybody up here personally. I don't really, I never really viewed myself as an outsider, but I never really had like a cemented group of friends when I lived up here in Inglewood. So that's why I connected to Jay Royal and Jay Rose the most, because they were like, the main two people who I knew were serious about music, but they were a grade above me though. So my junior year, I didn't become a Full Rose and Royal until they were seniors. So when they graduated and I became a senior, there wasn't really that many people in my class who were, that into making music or who were serious about hip hop music. So um, I just pretty much, bonded with, I had a lot of acquaintances, not so many, best friends or friends or even friends per se, but I did a good job, getting along with people as a collective. So I never really considered myself to be an outsider or anything of that sort.
Nice, man. So I mean, when you're that's what I'm trying to say. When you kind of touched upon here, you've met the guys in historic and stuff like that, and you sort of said you started to take it kind of a serious element of what you are. I mean, at what point did you really kind of like realize like, well, do you know what? I can actually really make something. I mean, obviously meeting the historic guys, like you said, they're a year above you, and you kind of got some inspiration. You started to join up then. But did it take a year, 2 years? I mean, at what point did you think, no, do you know what? I am really good at this, and this is something I like. You tapped upon it in your tune, "Be Great." When did that "Be Great" light bulb moment happen for you?
Let's see, that was 2013. Be Great. That was off my first mixtape For the City. Um, when I made For the City, I was in the mindset of wanting to become great, wanting to become, remembered for what I do. So that's why, a lot of the songs they talk about, pretty much me chasing my dreams, like, be great, watch me to the sky, high rise, that's the underlying theme for the city. So I say it was around that time after I made it, I was like, yeah, I can really, become something with this. But I always knew always knew in my heart that I could go somewhere with rapping. So or hip hop music rather. So
So was that so when you did the whole of the that moment you did in for for the city and stuff? Did you put that straight out on SoundCloud, or was that handed around? Passed around privately amongst people, and then it started to sort of go, wow, you should put that out. Or I mean, how did that process happen?
oh man, the For the City process was so crazy because It was actually supposed to be a collab project with me and one of my friends from Springfield who I used to rap with. But when I moved from Springfield, we lost contact, and I didn't have a cell phone, and I didn't really have constant transportation, so it became a solo project. Now, for the city, I recorded the whole entire thing in I'd say about 3 days. Within the final week, um, I had already had 5 to 6 songs written. I think I had like 5 songs written, and I ended up writing the final 6 songs within that last week. But one of the songs were freestyle, and just a little freestyle. So the process was crazy. Me and my engineer, we was up, all night, every night. We was getting about, I'd say 3 songs recorded a night. Um, Then, we announced it after we finished recording it, and we dropped it about, I say, 4 or 5 days later. And I put it on that fifth, and I put it on SoundCloud. I also put it on this website called tweetmymixtape.com, and it got like over 160 downloads within the first 2 hours. But then the website got taken down. So yeah, but it was a crazy process, but it was fun though. It was a nice experience.
So, man, again, I kind of, I'm fascinated by this whole process. I mean, do you, when you're, like I say, when you're in that, like you just talked about, then you're in the process of writing and mixing and putting things out. Will you? I mean, it's a two-part question. I mean, A, will you go to that moment that you just expressed then, or like you are now? Do you go into it with lyrics already in hand? Like stuff you've already got in hand, or do you just go on, listen to the beat, and freestyle it? Or, and if you do write it down, I mean, is it a case of you actually physically write it down with a pen and paper, or you do everything on a notepad? Or, I mean, how's your actual process of actually recording this stuff in, physical form? Do you write it down? Do you type it out? I mean, how do you do it?
I do both actually. What I do now, I put all my lyrics on my iPod, so I don't really use a notebook like that. But as far as like coming up with a song, sometimes I'll have a title in mind. Sometimes if I hear a beat and I have like like a verse just written with like no instrumental attached to it, I'll try and use that verse and match it with the instrumental. Or even if I have a verse written to a beat, but I hear a better instrumental, I'll take that verse and put it on that instrumental per se. But it's a lot of processes I have. I don't stay true to like one single process. So I'm just kind of like all over the place with it for real. But they all usually come out good either way. So but I rarely like when I hear a beat. Sometimes I come up with the hook first. I say it helps that I come up with the hook so I know like where to guide my verses. But no, I don't really have one single process actually. I just go for the most part, and I say it's fun that way.
Okay, so so you won't even write things down and then come back to them or anything like that. Or do you mean that's what I'm saying? Because I express this myself because I used to be in a band and I used to write lyrics and I would always carry something around with me, even and I'd be end up scribbling things. I used to do it all the time. You're scribbling up little lyrics on the back
Yeah.
of matchboxes
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff because
Yeah.
that's
We
the
all
thing.
do that.
Because that's what I'm saying. People don't understand that creativity can happen at any moment, can it? It can just pop into your head when you're sat on the bus or
Right.
what I mean. It just drops into your head. And I'm always fascinated to know if it's the same process. Because with you, I mean, is that the same thing with you?
Yeah. Actually, I carry around my iPod everywhere I go. So if like a line or a bar pops up in my head, I can just go into my notepad and just type it in there. But I really use a lot of the bars that I come up with on the side. Because I forget about them for the most part. So I don't know. I just gotta find a way to utilize them, just to get them out there. But yeah, it's a crazy process for the most part. But it's always fun and it's always interesting, when it comes to making music. So
I mean, when you like you said when you were making actually the not only the lyrics but when you're actually making the beats and you're mixing all that down, are you one of these people? And I don't want to make any assumptions, but man, every person I've spoken to on this podcast, and I know generally in life, we're always most creative, like at, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. Is that the same with you? Are you a kind of person who records at night, or do you have to, because of constraints and all that, have to do it through the daytime?
It doesn't matter what time of day I record. Usually, I feel like when it comes to writing, I'm better. When it comes to writing, when I'm in a peaceful environment. So it could be daytime or nighttime.
Mm.
But as far as recording, I can record any time of the day. Actually, I just got done recording a verse before I met up with you on this podcast. I just laid down a featured verse for my friend's mixtape. So yeah, and it's 11:30 a.m. over here. So
So, man, so when you're like sort of like collaborating with people, like you said, your beat maker and stuff like that. Do you, do you will the song actually change in process of while it's been layered up and stuff like that? I only mention this because being from a kind of guitar band, it was amazing how tunes the heart were always the same, but they would change a bit over because you played them live a bit, and we had almost the freedom to do that with but I suppose I've always wondered with beat makers, because it's always a laid beat. I mean, does it ever sort of change in the process of building up, or is it kind of that's it, that's the beat we're going to go with, now we just add bits and pieces to it?
well, the songs never really changed up in the process when it comes to featuring or whatnot. Usually, when I feature people, I make sure I have a clear vision of what the song's about. Because when I feature somebody, I want to make sure that they're able to perform as best as possible. What I wish to do is make everybody else better around me. And I feel like when you have a clear vision of exactly how you want to do something, and that can help another person become better or even sound better. But nah, like the songs never really like changed up when it comes to doing features or featuring someone. Um, or I haven't experienced that at least yet. So
Man, have you you sort of mentioned you've done and obviously people can go on YouTube and they can see sort of like 1 or 2 clips of you doing a few live stuff. Do you get to perform? Or do you get to perform live a lot, and how difficult or easy is it to do in your area at the moment in Ohio? Because I sort of mentioned, I've spoken to a few sort of people, particularly in the historic and stuff, and they sort of said it's quite a challenge to sort of. I mean, I love what you're doing with historic, actually sort of setting your own gigs up and stuff. But outside of that, do you get to play much, or is it quite a hard experience to sort of get gigs around Dayton?
it's a challenge. I'm not going to lie, but since it's so fun, it kind of takes away from the level of difficulty. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, as far as it being a challenge, trying to connect to the crowd, we haven't had any big crowds yet. So at least when it comes to like doing gigs like at art shows or at nightclubs or whatnot. But honestly, you can't really get mad at it though. You just gotta take what you got and just hope that you touched at least one person in the room, regardless whether it's 5 people or 5,000 people. So I never really, stressed over it too much because I know one day, we're gonna have, sold out shows, sold out arenas. This is just part of the process. So I'm just enjoying it, just having as much fun with it as possible while I'm still here. So
Well, yeah, man. I mean, this is one of the things that why I love talking about these things, because I think as much as this information can be dismissed, put out into the wider audience, I don't think people realise how that they think that that everything's rosy and everything's great at the moment, because it's kind of, they see all these big arena shows and they think, oh, it's all great, and anyway, if you just and so what I'm trying to get to you is from someone who's again, please tell me in the audience. I mean, what's the difficulties? What's the things that people don't understand from the outside about how difficult it is to sort of get from like some of yourself. You're making music, you're putting it out on SoundCloud and all this kind of stuff. But I know for a fact that you're not making Kanye West kind of money. So I mean, what kind of difficulties do you face, and what if you could in relation to that, what would be the things that you would like to sort of see change in the next 5 years, particularly just about the whole genre, about how things are done particularly?
Well, what I'd like to see change within the next 5 years, even though it's going to take more than 5 years, in my opinion, I'd like to see hip hop be viewed as more of a serious career choice. Like, for example, like when you tell somebody that, oh, I want to be a doctor when I grow up, everybody's, people are like, oh, good for you, you go for that. But when you say I want to be a hip hop artist, um, then people's like, oh, you just another one of them want to be rappers. So it's just it's part of the stereotype. So when you want to pursue hip hop as a career choice, you got to expect to go through that, and it's up to the artist to prove people wrong, or just continue to be serious at it. Once you if you present yourself as serious, then people will take you serious. Because hip hop is really about how you present yourself. So if you present yourself right, then you should be good, in my opinion.
Well, man, I think you're absolutely right, and I think one of the things that, again, and that's why I've been, massive, big supporter of what everything that's going on historic and stuff, because I think the whole essence, and I think it's, particularly hip hop came out of this, particularly when, like I say, back in the day, it was all about the networks, or as Wu Tang used to say, it's all about the swarm, man. The bees. If we can all just join up, we can take over the world, man. And I don't mean that in the sense of being the leaders of the world, but we can basically walk away and start something again. That's what I think is going to be the biggest, and I do see it around at the moment. And I think it's the big wake up moment that's going on in the world at the moment is people are connecting, and they're finding solutions for themselves. No more middlemen, no more gatekeepers, no more record companies. Just us doing it ourselves, and let's build this for ourselves. With help from others, and that's what I think is going to be the next big thing in the next 5 years. And I think technology is going to happen, and as you know, what we're doing. But I just think generally, I think the whole of mankind is going to go, and we're going through this whole. Let's all just join up and realize that we are just all one thing, experiencing ourselves over and over again.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot of changes in hip hop, especially with technology. The genre is constantly evolving, so it's going to be real interesting to see where hip hop is going to be at even 3 years from now. So
Well, man, I think particularly, and as you know, I mean, the reason I'm building, and I put right now all my all my life into building in '99 is because I think it's just a way that, and I think and I gave this before, I don't think it's going to be the only one, or there's going to be a million N99s out there in 10 years time. But the idea being that you know anybody who's creating stuff should be able to just be generate, get rewarded for that generation. I think to me is just it's how it hasn't happened that we don't live like that now, and how we've allowed record companies and all these people just to get fat on the back of us all. I mean, I was reading a stat the other day, man. I mean, I, I'll have to mention this one that the great. I think it's something like the most downloaded song on SoundCloud had something like 168 million hits, and the band made $15,000 from that. And that's you
uh,
think that's just wrong. I mean, and you think there's all these guys that are sat in the Caribbean and in the Seychelles and all around these big lovely islands, and they just got all that money and all that just on the back of someone else's talent. And it's that's just to me, it's what I loved about, like I said, what the Woo Army, what the big B and B's collecting up and joining up together. That was what it was all about. It's like, yeah, we don't need them, man. We can do this ourselves, and we can build this up, from the bottom upwards, or connect. And that's what I love about historic and stuff like that, man. And I think that's the inspirational part of what you're a part of. And I think this is a new wave of hip hop coming up. It's all about networking.
yeah, because I'm starting to see a lot of artists, not even just hip hop artists, but even R&B artists, stay independent, and they're building up their fan bases through Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'm going on tour, and just things like that. Pretty much doing everything that record labels can do, except by yourself, and they're still selling out, venues, still making nice money from merchandise and whatnot, and they're still just as relevant as the artists who are signed to record labels, and the artists who are getting nonstop airplay, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
man.
it's definitely been a lot of changes. It's definitely been a lot of changes in the music business, due to social media and the power of networking.
Well, man, this is the point that I make all the time, and I see, people, and I see how much hits they, how many plays they're getting on SoundCloud and how many hits they're getting on YouTube, and I think, and they're just not getting anything back from that, and that should never be around because, like you said, the audience is there. We as an audience, I would love to make sure that that you're rewarded enough that you're not going to be sitting there working in big Burger King in 3 years' time because you had no options. I want that because I want to feed you and make you, as much as I can and do. And that's, like I said, the audience is there. At the moment, there's no connections. Well, the connections are going through these middlemen, and that's what we're seeing breaking down. We're seeing everywhere, man. I mean, we're seeing it not just in music. We're seeing it. I just think generally in life right now, and I think the internet has played a massive part in this. That we're all connecting. I mean, I'm amazed, man. I mean, the fact that we can have this conversation. I mean, 10 years ago, this wasn't possible.
Oh no, not at all.
And then you think, just project that in 10 years' time, man. I mean, the idea we're sitting into laptops now in 10 years' time, you can see it's going to be, we'll have it Google Glass to Google Glass or mind to mind shit, man. The world is advanced. Man, it is, though, isn't it? I mean, the world is advancing at a ridiculously fast pace, man. I mean, this is what I think. I think we have to be positive about the future because if we don't, man, we're going to be entering a dark world. I don't know how you feel about that, but if we don't control it, it's going to control us.
It already is. Go down the street, drive down the street, see people, walking, their iPhones in their hands, not even looking both ways when they cross the street because they so into their cell phones and whatnot. It's all, it's already happening. So,
well, man,
but,
I think.
I was just going to say, like it's already happening. A lot of people are still, blind to it, unfortunately. But
Well, I think this is the thing, man. I think one of I mess what I'm saying. I'm a few years older than you, and what's kind of really depressed me, not in a real way, but kind of makes me sort of concerned a bit, is that how, particularly your generation, it's almost like privacy's gone. Everything is you've just given everything away to and the idea that now that your life is private is almost people think, oh well, it's not, because like you said, everything is seen on Twitter and stuff like that. No one put a gun to you. Nobody put a gun to our heads and said you must put what you're having for lunch on Twitter or what who's we all did it. We all did it willingly, and I think this is going to be one of the things we look back and go, oh man, we gave our lives away to other people far too easily. And it should. The idea of privacy is an important thing. I think it's something comes up a lot of times in the conversations we have on this podcast, that particularly to creative people, privacy is important, man. You want to have the ideas that we don't want to live in glass houses. We don't want everyone watching us. We want the idea we can, like you said earlier on, somewhere you can go quiet and you can just be who yourself and let that creativity flow through you. I think it's the essence.
Right, and that's why I watch what I put on social media like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For one, I don't use Twitter or Facebook as my diary or nothing because I feel like that takes away from the purpose of my music. So I never felt the need to tweet my life or post my whole entire life as my status on Facebook and whatnot, because that's what I have hip hop music for. But a part of that, like people, you're allowing every and anybody to see that. Like once you put something on the internet, it's there forever. It's going to show up in some type of platform or format, even when you delete it. So that's why I'm very careful actually when it comes to what I put out there.
Well, man, particularly, and again, this isn't people go out and read it yourself, man. It's just there's enough information out there on Google. I mean, did you hear about what Facebook have been doing for years? They've been basically using the whole of Facebook as an experiment to judge how we react to certain situations. So they hold back somebody's feed and then they put other feed out to see how the people react to positive or negative situations as an algorithm to work out. And you think, man, I never signed up for that when I went on Facebook. That's why I never go on Facebook anymore. I'm like, I didn't sign up to have my life as a test bed experiment in some algorithm. That was never part of the deal.
Yeah, I see a lot of people on Facebook put their lives out there and whatnot, but I've always refrained from doing it. I use social media to stay in contact with friends and family. and to promote music. And if it weren't for those two, then I probably wouldn't be on any of them, honestly.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, and I think that's exactly what you do. I mean, I think that's what's really great about it, because it's through your promotion. Like this is we've come into contact, and that's what I'm trying to say. Is what I love about the moment is that the seeds that you throw out are starting to bloom in other countries, and I mean, man, I mean, I've come out and I've spoken to you, but I know for a fact there'll be people out there that you will never meet, you will never know, that are getting inspired by what you're doing. And I think that's why I think it's really great days to be living in, because this was never possible. I mean, we go back to what we started, we started the conversation with you watched, straight out of content. This stuff was never possible 20 years ago, man. This wasn't even a dream of ours, you know what I mean? And here we are,
Yeah,
just we're living, like you said, through this whole thing. And like I said, man, I mean, I don't know how aware you are, but you know, your seeds have been sown and they're being played by people that you will never meet, and it's inspiring people, and I think
right.
that's.
Yeah, right. Yes, yes. Social media, it can be an amazing thing when it's utilized right. When people abuse it, then it becomes ugly, in my opinion. But hopefully more people can utilize social media the right way within the future. Hopefully.
Well, man, this is what I've seen. This is what I've seen, particularly in social media, and I think it's ridiculous. I mean, I think it's unbelievable, man. I mean, particularly for someone like yourself who's trying to go out there and sort of say the truth. It's just the whole. It's kind of like people think that because they can hide behind an avatar, that they can just be so negative, and you think, I don't want to be. I don't even want to touch with that kind of negativity in my life. But they're just out there. These people that just. And they're always eggs. You can always see them on Twitter and Facebook. They're just an
Yeah.
egg, innit? You know what I mean? And you think, is that
That
what?
you know, yeah, like I ain't even gonna cut you off, but I got that, but like that's what's so scary about social media. You can be whatever you want, you can be whoever you want, and you can reach whoever you want. And I mean, I just think that's like so scary because like people have the power and authority to do that today. So, like with all the catfishes out here, like the show on MTV, how they be, showing the people exposing, the like the people behind the fake profiles and all that. It's tons of people like that on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter who I get notifications from, and it can be a scary place once you really think about it.
Well, I think all it's done is it's bred an attitude, a mindset amongst people. And I don't know. I mean, I love to hear your opinion, because particularly being where you're the situation, and you're looking at things from your side of the world. But it's become a world now where everybody's is almost been it has everybody has the right to be offended, and I just think that doesn't do anything good. That all it does is just divide us even more. And I think that the social media have become part of this whole expression for this kind of thing, that everybody's got a right to be offended by something, or do you know what I mean? I was reading an article last night. They're having transgender teddy bears now, and it's like, I didn't even realize teddy bears were sexual, but now they have to have a transgender one. It's like, what why are we bothered about whether a teddy bear is offended? I mean, but people get up, they're writing tweets about it, and they're writing articles and blogs, and and it's like, really, well, what have we become?
And I didn't hear anything about that. That's ridiculous.
Man, it's just that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know. It's just what I'm saying. I mean, you're straight out. You're like I said, you're just out of college and stuff like that. I mean, do you feel that almost like you have to walk around on tiptoes, or can you be yourself? I mean,
Nah, I feel like I can be myself. I never felt the need to be anybody else, besides myself. So, I wake up every day and able to be myself, especially through my music. So, nah, I've never had no have no kind of like idea not or wanting to be anybody else, other than who I am.
yeah, man, and I think one of the things, I mean, again, sort of ties back to we were talking about about this thing coming straight out of Compton. Now, again, I'm only from this, from I'm setting thousands of miles away, so I don't have an actual sort of in touch reality to all. But when you sort of think that, you know, Straight Outta Compton was always, and that whole hip hop scene originally was always talking about how the man and the police force and all that was, you know, guys being shot and stuff like that. And now we are in 2015, and from my perspective, it doesn't seem to be a lot has changed. If anything, it's got more, you know, heightened up. Is that something you feel now? Do you think that things have are, you know, especially after watching, you know, Straight Outta Compton, do you think things have changed, or they haven't changed, or they've moved on, or they haven't moved on? How do you sort of relate to? Because you're that younger generation, so you know, and I know you can't know what it was like back in the day, but do you, when you watch that film, do you think that's, oh wow, things have moved on since then, or do you think that things have got worse since then?
You know, that's a very interesting question because Ice Cube, he actually said in an interview, he said that the song "Fuck the Police" by N.W.A. He says it's still relevant today, 27 years later. You know, the song "F the Police" came out 27 years ago, and for it to be relevant still, that just shows that, you know, not too much has changed. So I feel like, you know, things have advanced, but nothing new was under the sun in my eyes, at least.
No, man, and again, and maybe, you know, always shocks me because you know, I mean, I personally I have a lot of affection for the place you call America, and I think, you know, I think it's you know, in the world that we've lived in the last 100 years, it has been a good place. You know, it's one of the better places in the world to be living in. But man, when you read some of the stats from your side of the world, like, I mean, I was reading one the other day. 75% of all prescription pills are taken by Americans. The amount of black guys in jail to this day that are all just dead and all thrown into cages by a police force over what? Selling products because that's, you know what I mean, of a plant or something they deem illegal. It's barbaric, man. When I look across the over to you lot, I think not only are you putting loads of men in jail, but you know, you shoot. I mean, you still have state execution over there, man. And there's, to me, not a lot has changed. I mean, I'd imagine that the prison population isn't getting any smaller. It just rises and rises and rises every year. So, and you know, I mean, who are they rounding up? They're not rounding up rich preppy kids, are they? They're rounding up all the working, you know, all the kids in the streets, man, whether they're black, Italian, you know, Latino, whatever. You know, that's, to me, that's what I mean. Not a lot really has changed. And in fact, if anything, I think it's got worse in the last 20 years. I think the whole of that net and that, like you said, the police and just everything that goes around that has just become bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't know. Again, I don't know. I'm just talking from this side of the pond. I mean, how do you feel?
You're right. You're right. I agree with everything you said. I mean, it has gone worse, and it may be even more dangerous than what it was back then. I mean, who am I to exactly say? Like you said, I wasn't even in existence, you know, back then. But from what I'm seeing, yeah, it's been crazy out here. It's crazy.
Man, don't get me wrong, man. I mean, again, just growing up in the 90s, man. I remember, you know, I mean, I remember the LA riots, man. I remember like, whoa. I mean, do you know what I mean? So I mean, do you know what I mean? But I think a lot of that was, again, when I try to have a bit of wisdom on it, and I think like the media are always fascinated and focusing on riots and shootings and negative stuff like that. And back then there was only a few channels, whereas now, man, this is the difference now. Every person's walking around with phones. So when they see a police officer beating somebody, they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Whereas back in the day, you needed a big video camera, and that's what set the LA riots off. And I think that's now. I think this is where we're starting to take the power back. We have the phones. We have the power to watch you, which is now.
Right.
I mean, go on.
Oh no, you can go ahead. I'll wait till you're done.
No, I was just going to say because I think that's the power we have. We have as an individual to say no, you can't just do that anymore. You can't just get away with that. But it seems to me, man, looking over here, that they are just getting away with it, man. It doesn't matter if it's recorded or not. They can still come out with it. It wasn't a chokehold. It was a, you know, and you think, no, you got that guy in a chokehold, man, and all he was doing was selling cigarettes. That's what we doing in 2015, where a man is killed to death in the streets of New York for selling cigarettes. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I was gonna go off of what you said about there being not that many channels back in the day compared to now. Because if you have a cell phone or some sort of technology, then you have a channel. Everybody has a channel. YouTube channels, you know, Facebook channels. Like everybody has some sort of outlet where they can. I mean, bottom line is you can't really get away with anything today. as far as like witnesses and video proof goes, because it's everywhere. You know, it's too much technology out here to even get away with anything compared to how it was back in the day.
Yeah.
And so that's what's so crazy about it. But even though, it's hard to get away with things, people still are getting away with things. So it's just, it's crazy how it all works.
No, man, like I say, I mean, this is kind of the dichotomy where we live these days. You know, like I say, people will show something like that, but again, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't live in America, but I don't hear it talked about a lot when I do sort of switch on the media, and not often I do. But if I ever listen to, you don't hear many people talking about how many people are in prison over your side of the world and for what crimes. That you know, they don't want to focus on that kind of issue. They'd rather talk about a lion being shot or something. You know, it seems to me the whole of the everything is about media and distractions. And like you said, I think where we're going to go to in the future is that people are going to connect just peer to peer. That's going to be the thing in the future. We're all not even just putting on YouTube where we know stuff can be pulled down, on Facebook where stuff can be pulled down. But the idea we can just show it on a place where we can, peer to peer, where nobody's got any control. I think this is going to be the future, and hopefully then we can not only just, like I said, we can just focus on what the brutality that's going on in the streets. But can we look at some of the issues that are behind things? Like I say, the amount of people on prescription drugs, the amount of people that are still in cages. The idea, I mean, man, the idea your country has private prisons. That just blows my mind. You have a private prison. I mean, that's never going to stop, man. I mean, that's the whole point. You've got whole interests and everything just built into putting loads of people in jail, and that's got to stop, man. That's human potential that's being wasted.
Yeah, well, hopefully some change takes place soon, before it gets too out of hand, because it's just been, it's just ridiculous. Like I can't even put it into words, honestly. Like how wild things are out here, and like because it's so much that goes on behind the scenes that people don't even try to even look and peep what's going on, because it's so much things out here like blocking the vision of the masses, in my opinion. It's a lot of propaganda going on out here. A lot of things like that. So, but I mean, you would think that people should be more aware due to social media, but I think that's the positive side of social media. Like yeah, it helps spread awareness quicker than newspapers per se, because you can spread a message within one retweet or one share of a post or one repost or something like that, opposed to passing out newspapers door to door and reading through all the articles and then finding that one thing that is like the actual problem. So that is one positive side of social media, in my opinion.
Oh man, 100%, and it goes back to what I was trying to say to you earlier on. I mean, this is, I mean, I would have loved to be in a position back in the day where, well, anyone back in who grew up in the 90s, the idea that you could, write one of your music, a track, and you put it out, and that was the whole. I used to love thinking that just knowing that somebody else would listen to my music, and back then it was around your little local group of friends. Man, now, I mean, that's what I'm saying. This is what's great. You've done it, and here we are talking. And I'm from the Highlands of Scotland. I'm sat here and looking at mountains, man, and there you are, and you've just done that, put it out, and this, like you said, that is what you've just mentioned. These are the great things because it's given us the ability to spread ideas and spread connections and spread thoughts, and you know what I mean. And that's what I was trying to say. And that's why I was mentioning earlier on. You can write something that can inspire me to draw an artwork, and there you go. Something you've done in your one part of the world has inspired somebody else, and that's what the whole nature of creation and life is about. It's all about just putting seeds out there and inspiring people and bouncing back, and you know what I mean. I think that's maybe one of the differences that people in your generation don't realize how lucky you are, because for the idea of this happening 20 years ago, that that anybody could hear your music outside your local area was immense. And that's what you said, that is the power of social media. But like it goes to everything, man, and this, it's what you stand for, it's what you talk about. It's all about the mindset. You know, you can go on social media, like you say, you can troll people, you can be negative, or you can go and use the same tools to be productive and spread seeds of what you've done. And that's to me is why I use the tag slay positive. I think people like yourself are really slaying positive because you're using it to do positive action in the world rather than negative action.
Right.
Yeah, so Mandy, I sort of like mentioned last night. You dropped some new tunes last night. So I mean, are these two new tunes as part of a bigger project, or they were just tracks in themselves?
Actually, I put out a whole. Actually, that project, it's Until My Eyes Close Forever. It came out a year ago, exactly. I dropped that project a year ago today, and I just decided to upload the whole entire mixtape on SoundCloud. So people can have more easier access to it. Because I originally posted it on Audio Mac and Dat Fifth, and the reason why I didn't put those thing on my SoundCloud at first is because I have limited minutes on my SoundCloud, so I didn't want to spend all my minutes posting all of these songs and whatnot. But yesterday I was just like why not? But I put I say 8 new songs up there that go along with the project. Because at first I had We Rockin', Accuracy, and No Favors, and all I did was just upload the rest of the tracks that weren't on there before. So it's not a new project, and might be new to the people, but as far as like how long it's been out, it's not new.
Right. Okay. So I mean, just tapping into that, man. That's one of the things that I find frustrating about people at SoundCloud and stuff like that. And this is exactly what like I said, everything I'm trying we're building in 99 is completely to eradicate these problems. I mean, there's gonna be you can have unlimited resources, unlimited amount of tracks, and you know what I mean. That's one thing I've made for certain. I don't like the idea. I get frustrated, man. I get frustrated when I look at SoundCloud. I thought about doing it with my podcast and thought I'm not paying all that money just to have special access to put my stuff out. Why should I pay you? I'm doing all your advertising. I'm sending people to your site. Why do you need more money out of me? So yeah, that's one thing, man. Trust me. When we get ours done, there's going to be no more charges for you've got a certain amount of minutes left and stuff, because that's just bollocks, man.
I mean, I love SoundCloud a lot though because in my opinion, it's the best platform. It's the best platform for music. Like you can make your things available for free download, or make your tracks available for free download, and you can share it to Twitter or Facebook or Tumblr, or you can post it on any other social media website, and all people gotta do is just click on your song and it'll play. Like hardly any advertisement, and it just SoundCloud, it has a lot of love for independent artists and even up and coming artists like myself. So SoundCloud is it's definitely the best platform for up and coming artists and artists who are even out there. So I got a lot of respect for SoundCloud.
Exactly, man, and I feel 100% agreeing with you. But it's like all things in life, everything can be improved, and that's all that people are like. That's the process of life, man. It's always about one of just improving and improving and improving. And I can understand. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not downgrading SoundCloud. I understand completely, man. They're a business model, and they're working in the model they're working in. They need to make money, because if not, that's the world we lived in, man. We've gone to a world now. This is one of the most powerful things that I think has happened in the last 20 years, man. It's been the ability to give the music away that on one hand has harmed the creative people, the artists and musicians and stuff like that. But tell you what, it's brought down the music industry and it's brought down the film industry. They don't know what to do anymore. They haven't got a clue. So it's just finding we've now got to that point. Can we just improve things from this point of onwards? And that's just life, man, because I wouldn't want to go back, and I would never want to go back to what it was 20 years ago, man, where people like you would have to be impressing record companies and just putting
push it forward.
Man, there's a great film, and I mean, seeing you like your films, go and recommend it. It's on YouTube and stuff like that. It's called Fear of the Black Hat, man. It's like the Spinal Tap for the hip hop industry in the 90s, man. It's one of the funniest films ever, and it's just so true about how the record industry viewed it all. That you have to start. The whole idea is a band that they start off with just a bunch of guys doing one thing, and they're always following the trend. So when the ski hats were in, they all wore ski hats. When it was big chains, they all wore big chains, and by the end they were all doing that kind of Tribe Called Questy hippy dippy stuff, and it was a mock documentary. It was very funny, but it was just so like I wouldn't want to go back to there now, right now. So I don't, I mean, like I say, it's great that there are these sites like SoundCloud that help spread independent music. And don't, like I say, I mean, one of the things I love about SoundCloud particularly is that they don't bombard you with adverts, which is what I get really frustrated on all these other ones. Is I don't want adverts everywhere, man. So, I mean, man, you mentioned you said the stuff that you put out on SoundCloud was quite old. I mean, are you creating anything at the moment then?
Yes, I am. I'm working on the Historic Ink collaboration mixtape, and I'm also working on my third solo project as well. So I'm working on two projects at this moment. I have a lot of songs lined up actually, but I'm not rushing the process. I'm taking my time with everything so I can perfect it. But I don't have a release date for it, but it's definitely coming though. For this third project, I will say that this is going to be my most in-depth project out of my last two. So I'm really excited for it. I'm trying something different here, and yeah, I'm real excited for it.
So, man, that's an interesting thing. So, you said you got, the process that you got quite a lot. You always said you got quite a lot of tracks and stuff like that. I mean, will you just narrow maybe 30 down to 15? And how and when will you decide on what you want to proceed with and what you're going to sort of like? Okay. I mean, how does that process work, man?
Well, me, I give every song a chance. I try finish every song up, record it, see if I like it or not. And if I have a lot of songs, I'll narrow it down depending on what role it'll play on the mixtape, its level of relevancy, how it uh how it bonds with the rest of the songs on there, or how it can stand out. It's a lot of things that go into it, but I'll get it all figured out eventually. It's
Yeah,
a
man.
crazy process.
So when you hoping to sort of drop that? Is it going to be like end of this year or that more into next year?
That's a good question, actually. I'd say maybe the end of this year, possibly. Um, right now, I'm still gathering up production, instrumentals from other producers. So once I get all that going for me, and get all the songs recorded, mixed and mastered, and promote, get video shot for them, then it'll be here probably quicker than maybe even I expect. Who knows? But, it's definitely coming up. I'm not going to reveal the title yet, though, not yet.
Man, so I mean, again, I mean, obviously the age we live in right now, where more connections are open up to. Are you open to people collaborations with people you actually don't know in your city and around the world, and if they do, how they sort of reach out to you, or is that something you just like? No, I like to work with my sort of close people I know, person to person.
Well, I prefer to be in the studio with somebody, even though I haven't really had that many collaborations back then. But I prefer to be in the studio with someone so I feel like the vision is more clear that way. But right now, the only collaborations I'm expecting on my solo project is Jay Royal and Jay Rose, unless I'm able to link up with somebody who I think could add something to my individual project to make it become better. But I'm not excluding any possibilities of any other collaborations outside of Historic Inc. I'm always open for collabs, but a lot of it has to do with being able to connect and timing as well. Timing is always crazy, especially with going to college and going to work, recording and whatnot. And the last thing I want is having my project held up, because I couldn't get a featured verse from somebody. So yeah, so that's pretty much it for the most part.
Well, man, I've said this to to yeah, to everybody, particularly around involved in historic and stuff. I said, I mean, obviously, I will do everything when we can to raise awareness of what you're doing and stuff like that. And I just wanted to that I'm really it's really inspiring me at the moment because we're building a lot of what we do. We're trying to find, to do as much as we can to help people, like, and build people up, like historically. I said before, one of my dreams, and I'm going to make this happen one day, my man, and quicker than it's going to be, the quicker I can get this done, the better. I'm looking forward to the day when we have an N99 festival and we link up some of these people, because it's one of the things that frustrates me, man. I would love to see you play over here, and I'd love to see the Demons play over in America, and this can happen, man. We can, this is what we go right back to what we started in the beginning, man. We could make, it's one of the things, I haven't seen the film yet, but I'm going to see it. I'm sure it's one of the messages of Straight Outta Compton was like, if you want to do something, do it yourself, man. Get up there, stand up, and do it yourself. And I think that's the whole sort of motto of what's going on historic, and it's whole motto of what we're doing with N99. And I think it's the only way to be in this world. I don't think you can rely on just basically hoping for a lucky break one day anymore. I don't know how you feel about that.
I feel, yeah, that's what historic Inc. stands for. Pretty much, just making essential hip hop music, and we do a lot of things ourselves, considering the fact it's just us three, and nobody else really backing us. So, but there's a lot of DIY going on in the music industry. So we're just going to have to be able to adapt to that, and I think all of us are capable of doing that as a collective.
Well, one of the things I have to sort of, and it was something that I've been asked, just generally sort of thing, there's percentage of the people listening to this, and right now, are coders, and the people working on, in kind of really advanced technology. So if you from your side, from a position of being, a guy starting off in his whole hip hop career and stuff like that, what thing would you most, if you could say to all the coders out there listening, or any coders, what would you like them to advance, to help make your life a lot easier? What are the kind of things you think, man, if I could, you can go and build that. What can you, what would you like them to build for you? What advances would you like to happen? Because they're willing to, what I mean? And then we can hopefully we can take some of that information and make these things happen, because it's just about connecting people across.
I would just like to see, honestly, I just like to see people, give our music a chance, because you never know what you could get from it. And that goes back to saying, why I wish hip hop could be viewed more serious as a career choice, opposed to, wanting to be a doctor or something of that sort. Because I feel like we can be just as much influential as doctors can when they're helping out patients or whatnot. I feel like hip hop could really do that, and I feel like we could be viewed as that in the near future. So that's all. That's all I really wish. That's pretty much it, honestly.
That's cool, man. So like I say, so you've got a lot of really big things coming up. You got some, you got any particular shows sort of coming up with historic at the moment planned, or?
Not at the moment, but no, not at the moment. But we have had a lot of shows this summer, though. We performed a lot as a collective.
And were any of them recorded? Video?
Well, before we get videos recorded, we still have to get songs recorded for the group project. So we're taking everything step by step. Right now, I'm not thinking about any videos. I'm just worried about getting the songs written and laid down, and then we can talk about our artistic visions for where and how we should shoot music videos.
Man, and did you have any connection with like any other sort of like rappers in Dayton? Because I mention this because there's quite sort of few, I've got quite a few followers on Twitter all from Dayton, that, like, always brothers for life and people like this. Is there quite a scene amongst, you all know each other in the city? Because it seems from afar like, wow, there's all these rappers all coming out of Dayton. They must all know each other, or is that just like you're all very just in your own little corners and there's no connection between you two?
Well, actually, I went to high school with Always Brothers for Life,
Oh man,
also known as AB.
yeah.
I'm pretty cool with them. We have a decent relationship, but there's not really a huge music scene here in Dayton, Ohio. I'd say the city in Ohio with the hugest music scene is definitely Cleveland. But that just comes to show that we need more unification, not only in hip hop, but in the local scene as well. I feel like if everybody comes together and unifies, we can all rise up together. So hopefully we can make that happen.
Man, I think that's a it's almost like a very zen moment of the podcast. That my man, that is the message I would love to sort of tell everybody out there. It is all about that. It's just about unity, unify, man. I think that's exactly it, and it's good to hear as many voices, as many people say that as possible, man. Very inspiring words, my friend.
Yeah.
Man, I kind of well, before I sort of finish this podcast up, I love I always sort of when I get someone like yourself, I like to finish with one of your tracks, and well, particularly, I mean, obviously, I'll go from one of the ones on SoundCloud. I mean, you can obviously pick and choose. I mean, I was going to play with "Come and Go," but if you've got any particular tune you would like to sort of we finish this podcast on, please let me know and we can go out on that. But I was going to finish with "Come and Go."
Yeah, Come and Go. Yeah, perfect one. I love Come and Go. It's one of my favorite songs off Until My Eyes Close Forever.
Well, man, just before we do go, I mean, obviously, there's a couple of sort of questions, or the pointers out there. For the people that who are listening, where can they find you on Twitter and social media and stuff?
Um, for my Twitter, my name is D.Knight 937, DKNIGHT 937. SoundCloud, my SoundCloud and Instagram is D.Knight is real, DKNIGHTISREAL, and that's my YouTube username also. So I'm real easy to find for the most part. All my social media outlets have the links to my other social media outlets, so you can bounce back and forth, to each and every one of them whenever you'd like to.
Yeah, but also I'd also just say, you can also find you for Historic Inc. on Twitter. So
Right,
you know what I mean. They're always a good sort of leading light to
right.
yourself. Man, like I say, it's been a long time in the coming, man. This conversation because this
I
has been,
know.
yeah. And like I say, man, we'll like I said, we'll definitely have to get you back on again at some point. I mean, at the moment, I'm kind of, like I said, I'm head down ploughing and trying to get this whole net in '99 built. But we'll definitely have to get you back on again. And I would love to do, man. And I said this to all of you. But it'd be great to have a podcast with all three of you on, man. We can have a
Yeah.
a whole sit down and have a real conversation. Not
Oh yeah.
now, particularly I know you all sort of as people as individually. But it'd be great to sit down and have a real conversation with all of us and see if we can sort of push this world forward just a little bit in that conversation, eh?
Right.
But like I say, man,
Um,
go on.
I was gonna say definitely. Yeah, we're gonna have to meet in Historic Inc. We're gonna have to fly out to Scotland one day.
Yeah, definitely,
Have
man.
a sit down conversation.
Yeah, definitely, man. And the final point before we play out with the tune is, if we could sort of, if you could wrap up the whole of what you're trying to, the point of this conversation and the point of what you're trying to get across, sort of like, what would it be? In a kind of couple of sentences. What would be the one thing you want people to walk away from this podcast remembering about yourself?
One thing I want people to walk away from this podcast to know about myself. Honestly, I'm just like the rest of. I'm just like the rest of the. I'm just like the rest of y'all. Honestly, I got dreams. I'm chasing my dreams. Historic Inc. My friends and family. So you know, you know, just don't pass up. Just don't pass up on us, as an opportunity or whatnot, because we have a lot of great things going on. Just making a lot of things happen, or at least we're trying to. So, but I'm no different from anybody else out there. I'm real humble about my craft and what I'm doing. So,
Cool, man. Well, with that, we're going to finish off with "Come and Go." And mate, it's been an absolute honour. And well, for me in Scotland, I'll say goodbye. And life is people.
all right, man. Nice meeting up with you.
By nature, we depart. You don't hear from me, it's not because I hate you. It happens. We get older and we grow apart in different ways. We travel separate roads in our hearts. You will stay no matter where you destined to be. But even they exit and leave. Doors open and close. I won't stop you in your tracks and beg for you to come back. Continue along your path. We all got bags to pack. up. Next thing you know, y'all posted up. People go, just keep it going. You let them go, you walk, just keep it focused. People go, just keep it going. You let them go, you walk, just keep it focused. They bandwagon once you taking off with your talent. For they barely knew your name, hardly managed to pronounce it. Then everybody spamming gangs, self-proclaimed brothers and cousins, even your distant friends reattaching this area so deep you can't even breathe. Till the hype dies down, that's just how it lives. Everybody asking you for a joint and limb. Till your knee blows, you realize they counterfeit. And once they hit you up, turn to missed calls. It's so gone, the voicemail won't even respond. Just a dial tone, cause all they really wanted was a hookup. Now it's no service, drop calls they don't pick up. Funny how you get some light and everybody switch up. The disappearance, darkness is near. Regardless, I gotta find light somewhere. So I spend less time worrying about who's there. People come and go, just keep it going. Don't let them throw you off, just keep it focused. People come and go, just keep it going. Don't let them throw you off, just keep it focused. People come and go, just keep it going. Don't let them throw you off, just keep it focused. Hey, where I'm from, it's like a trap.